Hey there, you, me, and DC fans, and welcome if you are new. I am the stepson of Krypton,
And I'm Mantis.
and today we're bringing you a quick video on Marvel's Thunderbolts trailer. Now, we've done a previous video discussing Thunderbolts and our thoughts, feelings, hopes, dreams, desires, nightmares on it. Um, Mantis, I'm going to let you lead this one because this was your idea. So if you're ready, we're going to go ahead and roll that intro and get on into the discussion.
Let's go.
Let's roll that beautiful bean footage. All right, guys. So Marvel's new Thunderbolts trailer just dropped. It's gotten mixed reactions. I'm personally like I don't know how I feel about it. Mantis, I'm gonna let you take this one because I'm still working on how I feel about it.
I thought it was okay. When I first started watching it, it reminded me when we did some of the Echo reaction and discussion because it had a serious tone to it.
Why so serious?
And that's kind of, it's like, I guess I could talk about this later, but the trailer itself looked okay. It looked okay. There's some comedic stuff sitting there. You get to see most of the characters. I think there's one that they didn't show, but it got leaked. I think via a Funko Pop release that happened, and people find out about a character that they apparently Marvel didn't want them to find out about that's in it. But you get to see most of them, and David Harbour's in this, and it's your classic. I mean, I don't know if anyone's familiar about this. Like Cal said, we did do a video. I think when this was first announced last year, or when they confirmed the script or something. It's been a while.
Yeah, it's been probably half a year since we talked about Thunderbolts.
Yeah, so I mean, it's essentially what it is the Marvel version of Suicide Squad, essentially, with a different Amanda Waller. In this, it's Louis Dreyfus. Louis, was that her name? Shit, Elaine from fucking
Julia from Seinfeld. Julia Louise Dreyfus.
Yes. Yeah, I just it's like the Elaine dance is all I can think of when I watched Seinfeld growing up, like, all the time. Anyway, so she, she's
real quick, as you just said that, and since you were kind of trying to think of it, I'm gonna play the Seinfeld fucking theme. Yeah. That's just gonna happen.
Yeah,
deal with it, guys.
Yeah, that's fine. That's fine. My thoughts was like, they're trying their hand at this anti-hero supergroup thing, based off of Thunderbolts is the same name from the comics that's coming from. But will it be? I guess my question is this going to be more like Suicide Squad, the movie from like 2016 with Will Smith and Margot Robbie, or is this going to be Suicide Squad from 2021 that was the way better version of it?
That also had Margot Robbie in it.
It did. Yeah, they both. This is where it gets weird because they both have Margot Robbie, but also, the 2021 version was arguably. It's not even arguably. It's literally better. But it also spawned, a Peacemaker from that movie, which is a very successful series on Max as well, starring John Cena. And I guess, like, I just don't know how this tone of a movie is going to work because, again, they've kind of tried this before a little bit in the series realm, the TV series realm with Echo, which we both did, and I thought was not good. And that's being generous, I think. Marvel also did a movie, Morbius. Yeah, Morbius, which was just garbage as well. It was just trash. and which was funny that had Jared Leto in it as well. There's connections all over these movies and types. It's really weird. But I don't know. It's like the same high violence characteristic with some drama and comedy mixed in there. There's a scene in the trailer that David Harbour is. He's he can make jokes here and there, and they're kind of funny. He showed that in Stranger Things. There were some comedic bits that he did that he's got this kind of dry humor. I think works well. He has a good Russian accent, so this is, although the Thunderbolts do missions on the behalf of the American government, half of them are Russian, so it's kind of odd. But so
I think this was during David Harbour's Russian phase, because when Black Widow came out in Stranger Things, he was over as a prisoner in Russia. So I think he was just like, what? Let's just go ahead and get all the Russian stuff out of the way. I'm working on my accent. We'll go ahead and do Black Widow. We'll do this. We'll start Thunderbolts because I am Russian right now. And then, hey, we'll deal with what's going to happen after the fact.
Yeah. And I mean, I guess it makes sense. Some of the characters, they know each other. They're, Black Widow, not the Black Widow, but Black Widow is more of, it's kind of like, isn't it kind of like a Green Lantern thing where there's multiple Black Widows? So they're Russian assassins, trained from the same school and whatnot. So they kind of all know each other with the Red, what do we say his name? Red Guardian.
Red Guardian.
Yeah. So, I mean, they kind of all know each other and whatnot. I don't know how well it's going to work. It just Marvel hasn't shown that they can do it successfully. And don't get me wrong, like DC hasn't really necessarily pulled off the whole anti-hero supergroup thing either. I mean, Suicide Squad was okay. It was pretty good, I guess. But if you're talking about like doing the serious series and serious movies, like DC is very good at that. The Batman series, all the Batman movies are pretty serious. Joker is very serious. I mean, even we did a video on this previously with the Penguin is very serious, and at least the one episode was great. I mean, Marvel does comic booky stuff very well. When you get into the more drama laden stuff, I don't know how well they do. So that's my only catch on it.
So here's the problem, kind of like tying into what you're talking about is you want to try to do something serious, but then you make it too lighthearted, and so things are getting befuddled, right? Like Black Widow, you're showing her past where she was this deadly assassin that took out a lot of people. If you remember in the first Avengers movie, when Loki's trying to turn her, he's like, you have all this red in your ledger, right? But then the Black Widow movie, you're trying to make it seem a little more lighthearted, like she's not this ruthless killer, as well as the Yelena chick that's in Thunderbolts, right? Mm-hmm. And same thing with Red Guardian. You're trying to make him like he's this Russian or Captain Russia, saying Captain America. Yeah. Like he's this, and he's this ruthless, but then you want to add these comedic elements to it. John Walker, you did the same thing in the Captain America or the Falcon and Winter Soldier series. You want to make them these serious, like really darker characters, but then you try to add too much levity to it. Whereas DC leaned heavily into the darkness, maybe a little too much for some people. Like that's where I feel like it's just getting the message is getting mixed up, right? Like you want to have dark characters, but then you don't want to make Black Widow a villain or an anti-hero, right? Especially since she's already fucking dead. Like this is all in the past. In this point, she's dead in the current times. She's been killed. So I don't know. I want to believe it's going to be good, and of course we got Bucky in there. We've got Sebastian Stan playing. He's playing as Bucky.
He looked good in the trailer. Like I love him in the Winter Soldier. He was fantastic. He does Bucky great. I think great actor.
Yeah, as long as they don't focus on the kind of stuff like they did in Falcon and the Winter Soldier, like there was so much good about that series, but there were certain things that that leaned way too heavy into that just ruined the series, right?
Yeah.
And I gotta feel like they were probably doing that, and that's why they had so many damn reshoots on Captain America 4. And I kind of hope that with the Thunderbolts movie, like they don't lean into that. I don't know. or I will say this, personal opinion here. I don't feel like Marvel has it to pull off a Suicide Squad-y type of movie. I feel like it is going to turn out more of the original 2016 whatever Suicide Squad. It's not going to turn out to be like the James Gunn Suicide Squad. And maybe it's because this is their first attempt, right? You see DC tried it, and that's what we got, that lump of dog shit. And then they did it again, and it worked. So maybe this is what, this is what Marvel's going to have to go through. But I feel like we're seeing things like this. We're seeing shows like The Penguin emerge. I feel like the anti-hero, almost villainous type series, people are kind of responding to right now, right? This is that pendulum swing.
Yeah, and this is where you make point of this, like they're not even really villains. Like the Thunderbolts aren't necessarily villains, like kind of like how they were in Suicide Squad. And this is the thing, we've talked about this before. The reason DC, in my opinion, is just way better than Marvel is because their villains are so much better. In here, I'm just like, these characters, and maybe it'll be different. Maybe they'll introduce us to them and whatnot. I guess my last 2 points on this, one, and you kind of brought this up too. I don't think that they can do both of these things at the same time. I don't think they can make a drama-laden show and try and mix as much humor as I saw in the trailer. Maybe it's just stuff in the trailer, but the audience is going to get confused, right? And I guess two is I think you need to pick a lane and stick with it, because there's only one series I think so far that has really pulled that off, and that is The Boys, and they leaned heavily with comedy and just had an assload of violence, right? And there's drama in it, but like realistically, that show is a comedy with high violence,
a violent comedy, very violent comedy.
Yeah, which Marvel is never going to do that, ever. They will not do that. I mean, the stuff that we saw even in the first series of The Penguin it was pretty violent. Some of the stuff that happened, and not as violent as The Boys. Don't get me wrong, but again, all three different. There's a bunch of different ways that they could go with it. Just from the trailer view, I'm more inclined to believe your line of thinking here, where it's unfortunately probably going to end up more like Suicide Squad 2016.
Well, and I think it's funny. So, kind of my final thoughts. Like you bring up one of the things that a lot of DC fans, because I can speak personally on this, right? I've read a lot of reviews and people's takes on it, so I'm going to give my personal one, right? I'm not going to speak for anybody else, because some people in the comments don't like when I assume. So I'm not speaking for any of our viewers, anything like this. Speaking to myself personally, when you watch Joss Whedon's version of Justice League, but then we get the Zack Snyder one, I feel like the Whedon version tried to lean so heavily into comedy that it was just so ill-timed, right? It was oddly placed, and so it didn't work. But then when you watch the Snyder cut of the Justice League, there were some moments of levity. There were a little bit, but I feel like it worked better. But it's a very delicate balance, right? Especially when DC was leaning more towards their darker undertones, right? And I feel like with Marvel, you've kept things in the light, right? I think the darkest parts came from, in my opinion, came from John Walker in The Falcon and Winter Soldier, when he kind of went bad, but he didn't go bad per se. He was doing what he thought was right, but it led to a bad ending, which kind of showcased how great it was when Erskine picked Steve Rogers in the original Captain America, because he's like, he's got the goodness in him. He may not be the big strong guy, but it's what's on the inside that counts, and it shows, because they even say the super soldier formula, it enhances the person's traits, right? So if they're a good person, it makes them a great person, kind of like with Steve Rogers. Whereas John Walker still was trying to be good, but he went about it in a very negative way that made him bad. I feel like that's some of the darkest stuff you've seen with Marvel, because he did kill some people and things like that. So other than, let's not count Blades and Spawns and stuff, let's talk to the MCU. So I feel like it's going to be a very difficult line, and I feel like that's where they're going to get tripped up, is you're going to try to make it dark but add moments of levity, like the humor, and it's not going to work.
Yeah.
Personal opinion. Roast me in the comments if you want to. I will. That's my cross to bear. I will be up there. I'm not Marvel Jesus like Deadpool, but roast me if need be. That's what I'm here for, guys. I'll be the sounding board if you need to yell and say, you don't know what you're talking about. Get some stress out. You had a bad week, so you got to yell at somebody. Let it be me. That's what I'm here for, guys.
One final thing, just kind of a little tidbit. There's some rumors going around that Harrison Ford will be in this film as well as Thaddeus Ross. So take that as you will.
So he may not play Red Hulk. You may just see the presidential side, and you won't see Red Hulk. That'll be interesting to see. Depends how much weed he's smoked.
Yep.
And how that goes. But it's kind of like we did, and Mantis said at the beginning of this, we did the review / we did kind of watch them and discuss on Echo. We'll give it a chance, right? We try to give everything a chance. There are very few things that we see on either the Marvel or DC side that we're like, hey, you know what? We're not even gonna, we're not gonna go there. I like David Harbour. He's funny. Love him in Stranger Things. Wyatt Russell, who plays John Walker. I loved him from 22 Jump Street. Like he's good. Like I like him enough as a character. I'll give it a chance. We'll see what happens.
Yeah. I'll probably won't go see it in theaters, but it'll be one of those that when it comes to streaming, I'll check it out and see if it's any good. So
it's supposed to come out in 2025. When in 2025? May. Okay, so May. All right. That gives it a shot because the thing with 2025, and we have done many videos on this, and it's brought up in regular discussion. July is going to be a huge month in 2025 because we have Fantastic Four reboot happening 2 weeks after Superman, the DCU rolling, which technically will happen with Creature Commandos, but James Gunn has said in a previous video we have talked about that neither one is going to be like the jumping off point. We're just going to be dropped into a universe in progress. But we have Superman 2 weeks later. We have Fantastic Four, which is going to have Galactus and all that stuff. So we got a lot going on. So this will be about 2 months earlier. So it has time to let set. Maybe
there's a lot of shit that's going to happen next spring. Like it's just going to be wild. So.
It is, and we will be here to bring you all of it. However, you will not get notified of that if you are not subscribed to the channel. Okay, so you got to subscribe. Like. Thank you, Vanna. He is going to show you where. Or he has shown you where. It is
I have shown you where.
Popping up on the screen. And let us know down in the comments. What did you think about the Thunderbolts trailer? What do you think about the Thunderbolts as a movie? Are you excited for it? Is it kind of one of those, I might catch it when it comes out on streaming, as long as it's on free streaming?
Is this a who gives a shit movie? Like,
Have you given up on them? You're just not even going to watch it? Let us know. Because you know what? Like, we struggle with the idea. Like, do we go see it? Do you not? Do we do? Do we not? Do we do? Not? Mm-hmm. So let us know. If you guys say, hey, you should go watch it, or maybe you should check this out. I didn't pay a whole lot of attention to the Black Widow movie, so there's probably some things I missed. I was doing work as it was on the other screen because I wasn't even going to watch it, but I'm like, you know what? I don't want to talk about something, but at least I haven't seen it. Plus, Scarlett Johansson is in it, and she is hot.
Yeah,
so
that's a bonus.
Yeah,
really the only good thing about it. So.
I like David Harbour in it. He was kind of funny, and then also he's like an out of shape Captain America, and so that made it kind of funny too. But yeah, all right, guys, that is going to do it for us here on this episode of You, Me, and DC. I feel like the one episode that we said that was not going to run as long is the longest. So
always the case.
It is. It just happens. That's why we just shouldn't predict things because they're going to go the opposite way. All right, guys. Until next time, we will see you then.
Later.